Hello everyone, here we are again, and here we are again to chat and for me to answer some questions. Once again, we have so many questions. The topic this morning is, and I shouldn't say this morning because for some of you it's afternoon, right? But the topic is, how much does the spirit world see? Can they see everything? Do they know all our secrets? Can they tell us about our cheating, our secrets, and our lies? Well, an interesting topic. So before I begin with the questions, as usual, I have my spirit guide Gregor, who is standing to my right side here. I have my assistant Carolyn, say hello, Carolyn.
Good morning.
Who is also to my far right, and as the time progresses, I'm sure we'll have a few more people from the spirit world joining us. When I first started with this work, when I first began as a spiritual medium and a healer, I actually became aware very quickly of how much the spirit world can see, and it was quite shocking to me, because I hadn't realized that not only can they see us and hear us and watch us as we go about our daily lives, they also can connect with our thoughts and our thought process. So I learned to be very careful about what I was thinking, to try and have good thoughts and positive thoughts whenever possible, which of course is not possible all the time. And I've very often thought something and then thought, oh, whoops, sorry guys, and I've had to apologize for my negativity or for my sometimes really bad or occasionally mean thoughts. When I first realized, I'm sure many of you have heard me say this before, when I first truly realized that the spirit world can see everything, that was the moment when I started using bubble bath in my bath water. It didn't stop them seeing, but it just made me feel very much better. We've had lots of questions, as I've said. We've had lots of interaction. Thank you, all of you, for your wonderful, lovely comments. And we're only going to deal with the wonderful, lovely comments. And we're going to go to Carolyn for our first question. Let's have the question, Carolyn.
My husband Arthur died 44 years ago. He was an angry, violent man, and in the end I took the 3 kids and left him. He died exactly 1 week later of a heart attack after hearing the news of his brother's death. Does my husband know I left him because of his violent temper? And that's from Vera.
Vera. Well, one asks Vera, why after 45 years would you care? If you were married to someone who had a violent temper, why are you holding on to this, my darling? Because you need to just let go. Does it matter whether he knows or whether he doesn't know? It shouldn't matter. After 45 years, my sweet, it should not matter. I feel very much that he does know. If that makes you feel better or worse, so be it. But it shouldn't be making you feel anything. After 45 years, Vera, you really should be so involved in your new and hopefully happy life and much more positive life that it really shouldn't matter to you at all. So I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do, Vera. I'm going to send out some healing prayers for you, because even after 45 years, I don't know how old that makes you now, but even after 45 years, you can be hopeful in your life and you can move on from this awful experience that you had with your husband, and it shouldn't be affecting you to the point where you even think about him anymore. Can we have the next question, please?
Can our loved ones that have passed feel bad or angry if they saw us cheating, exam cheating, cheating in a relationship? If they do, can they do anything about it? And this is from Aziz in the Middle East.
Hello, Aziz, and thank you for the question. My experience as a medium over all of these years tells me that there's not much that the spirit world doesn't know. Do they feel bad about it when they see us cheating? If they love us and if they care about us, I'm sure that they do. I'm sure that pretty much anyone who is of the light in the spirit world would say, you know, don't do it. To always try to achieve by fair means rather than foul means. Do they feel badly for us? If they care about us, my experience is that if they care about us and they want us to have a happy life and a good life, they know that we're not going to achieve that aim if we cheat or if we lie. And unfortunately, liars and cheats always get found out one way or another. And if they don't get found out while they're here on this earth, then they're going to get found out when it's time for them to go anyway. So many times when someone comes to me for a consultation, secrets and lies are revealed. They just are. And I remember once a young man somewhere in his 40s, early 40s, came to see me. And as soon as he sat down, he wanted to come to speak to his mother who had passed. And as soon as he sat down, his mother started to talk to me about how disappointed she was in her son, and explained to me that he had a lovely wife and 2 beautiful children and 2 girlfriends on the side. I did say 2 girlfriends, not 1 girlfriend. This man was not content to cheat once. He was happy to cheat twice. And I, you know, I looked to the mother and I said, well, would you like me to talk to him about this? And she said, yes, I would. And because I'm there for those in the spirit world and I'm there to do whatever I can for them, I began talking to this young man about his cheating and his lying ways, not in a judgmental way, but his mother wanted to say, she wanted to know, why are you doing it? What do you hope to gain from it? And then the clearest and the strictest warning ever at the end of this consult was, if you don't stop it, you will get found out. You absolutely will get found out. And you will lose your wife, your beautiful wife, and your children. You can imagine this poor man sat there, his eyes getting wider and wider. And it was certainly not something he expected to hear. But as I've said before, when you come to see someone like me, you don't always get what you want, but you always get what you need. And obviously this young man needed this advice. Did he take it? In this particular instance, he might have refrained for a few months, but unfortunately it was in his nature to want to play the field. So I never saw him again, so who knows what happened. But you cannot expect the spirit world to keep quiet always if you're doing something that they either disapprove of or they're concerned about. Next question.
How do spirits become aware that a medium will be meeting with a group of people, which includes their loved ones, and they should show up? Thank you, Jan.
You mean, so is it a secret to them until it happens, or do we keep this all a secret or not? So the answer is okay. I know that you've heard me, all of you, talk about my spirit guide, Grey Eagle, and one of the roles that he plays in all of this, one of the many roles that he plays in all of this, is to help those in the spirit world who need someone like me, or me in particular in this case, who need to connect with their loved ones in the spirit world through me. But he is the one who helps those in the spirit world. He is the one that they will be directed to if they want to speak to me. He checks them out. He makes sure that they're okay. he helps them and he guides them through the process. If someone in the spirit world wants to connect with someone on this earth plane, that thought, that feeling, that request goes out. And there are many like Grey Eagle who will grasp that question and go to that person and say to that person, okay, this is what you need to do. This is where you need to be. And this is how you need to do this. And so Grey Eagle is there to help and to support those in the spirit world and to guide them in connecting with me personally. He's also there to make sure that I'm protected and that we don't get any crazy people asking silly, crazy things, and that the whole thing goes as smoothly as possible. So it's there are no secrets. And you know, it's funny because sometimes, you know, someone will call and book for an appointment, and we'll give them a date, and those in the spirit world will know the date before we even give them the date. It's already been arranged. It's a pre-arranged, preordained thing. Very interesting how this works. Let's have our next question, Carolyn, please.
Deborah has two questions. The first one is, does the spirit world judge you if they disagree with something you're doing and then not visit you anymore?
Shall we do that first one first then? Hello, Deborah. Does the spirit world judge you and not visit you anymore? I suppose it depends what you did. And I suppose it depends on the person in the spirit world, because some people are judgmental and some people are not. So it depends on the nature and the character of the person in the spirit world who knows you and who you want to ask this of. For instance, if you came to me and you said, look, I've done something terrible, I want to talk to my mother, is she judging me? Will she not speak to me anymore? And with a mother's love, I doubt very much whether she'll not want to speak to you anymore, but she might be judging you a little bit depending on her character. But she might also understand, because she is in that place, this incredible place that she's in, she might be a little bit more understanding of where you're coming from, and she might understand why you did whatever it was that you did. Because, you know, most of us aren't bad people. We do sometimes bad things or stupid things, but we don't do them necessarily for bad reasons. So sometimes our reasons are, let's say, justified a little bit, and those in the spirit world will understand that and they'll care about that. Not speaking to you anymore. I've had people in the spirit world who have said, you know, tell her or tell him, I'm not coming to visit anymore until they stop the arguing, because every time I go visit, they're arguing and they're fighting and it's driving me crazy and I don't want to visit. So you can actually turn people away or turn people off. It's like, you know, you get somebody come to visit you and they come for tea and you open the door and all they hear is you arguing and fighting, and they might stay for tea. If it were me and you invited me to your house and you were fighting and arguing, I would not be staying for tea. I would be saying to you, I'm not staying in this house any longer, and I'd be off. And the same applies to those in the spirit world. So, you know, we need to pay attention that everything is seen and everything is heard. Not everything is understood. Let's have our next question.
Deborah asks, do the spirits in the spirit world tell on you?
Deborah, yes, they do. When you say, do they tell on you? I kind of guess, yes, yes, they do. But they're not going to necessarily tell on you to, I don't know, to your next door neighbor or someone. They'll, you know, they might tell on you to someone who might be able to hear them or you know, connect with them, someone like myself. But I can tell you a little story, and this is a very personal story, okay? My best friend, this is many, many years ago, so many years ago, my best friend, who was also my next door neighbor, was cheating with my ex-husband. And this has been going on for several months. It was very naughty because my best friend was still pretending to be my best friend, while at every opportunity, and they found many opportunities, I can tell you, but every opportunity they were messing around together. So not only was I being cheated on by my husband, I was also being cheated on by my best friend. The weird thing I have to tell you was I was, I think, more shocked and more hurt when I found out about my best friend than probably I was about my husband. But during the course of all of this intrigue that was going on, my father died very suddenly, very quickly, had a massive heart attack, and he died. And I was very close to my father in my adult life, and it hit me tremendously. Now, naturally, because I have this incredible gift, I was looking for him, searching for him, maybe seeking him out. I wasn't working professionally at the time, but I always felt that I had a connection with my father anyway. And the interesting thing was that within, I'm going to say within 2 or 3 weeks of my father's passing, amazingly and unexpectedly, I had this little voice in my head telling me, go home. And this little voice in my head became so insistent that I actually went home, and bingo, there was my husband and my best friend doing naughty things. And so I found out, and I always felt that my father was the one who was tapping me on the shoulder or putting these little thoughts in my head. And I still believe today that had my father not died when he did, I probably would never have found out about my husband and his and my girlfriend and his girlfriend actually for quite some time. So I think that those in the spirit world can show us, they can give us indications, they can give us little signs. Whether we listen to them or not is up to us. And sometimes people lie to you and cheat to you, and no matter how good you are at talking to the spirit world, if you're not listening or if you're not paying attention, then you're not going to get it. You're not going to grasp that. Next question.
Good morning, Miss Rosemary. It is a blessing to be able to write to you. This is from Emily.
Hello, Emily.
I have a question about my friend Tammy, who was killed by her boyfriend last year in June. The trial is coming up the week of September 12th. I guess my question is, does she already know what will come to pass? And has she crossed over yet?
Does Tammy know, is it?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I know she was holding on to the earth plane because of her worry with her mother and upset about her being taken from her. Thank you for your wisdom. Love, Emily.
Emily, first of all, let me say to you and Tammy's family that I'm so, so sorry for your loss, and violent, losing someone in a violent way is very tough. So my heart goes out to you, and I'm going to put you on my list and Tammy's family on my list of people we're going to send our prayers and our love to and our healing prayers to. So let me say that first of all. I'm asking Greg Eagle about this because you're asking, did Tammy
does she know what's going to come
does
to
she
pass?
Does she cross over, and does she know what the result of the trial is going to be? And you know, it varies from person to person, and so I'm sort of connecting with my spirit guide Greg Eagle, who has put his hand on my shoulder. And so the answer to part of the question is that your friend is free, she's flying, she's happy. She's happy in her environment. She's very sad for all of those, you and her family and her mother, for all of those she's left behind, who she can see, because there are no secrets here, she can see that you are all still suffering greatly. And I feel that the outcome of this trial is more intense for all of you. And I'm asking Greg does the spirit world know what the outcome of this trial is going to be? And the answer is yes, they do know. I'm not going to discuss this with you, certainly not on a public forum. But yes, they know what is going to happen. They are fully aware. It's almost, sometimes it's almost as if the future is already the past for those in the spirit world, because it's almost as if, you know, there are certain inevitables in life, and the outcome of this trial is one of those inevitables. I'm told to tell you to, you know, to try and stay as calm as you can, and as, you know, peaceful about this as you can. I know it's hard, probably almost impossible for you. You won't be happy with the outcome, because even if the outcome is as you hope it will be, which I think it will be, you won't feel that there's a resolution here. And it's only time that will give you that resolution. But please know that your friend often visits, and she's with you, and she visits with her family, and that she is no longer suffering. I think it's always those of us who are left behind are the ones who suffer the most. But she is not suffering, and she is safe, and she's well. So please, darling, you know, try and take that as a little bit of comfort, and please give that message to Tammy's family. Let's have that next question.
Actually, I believe you wanted to tell a story of a lady's safe and how you found it.
Oh, well, yes. Now this is a story of no secrets and no lies, right? So I'd forgotten about this. I'm thankful I've got Carol in here, because she always prods me when we're talking about these questions just before we start on this little journey that we have every week. We go through the questions, and I remember different stories, and I'll say to Carolyn, oh, jot that down, because I might remember to tell that story, and I always forget, and she always reminds me. So this story is a very fascinating story, because it begins with two women, and I'm going back many years. It begins with two women who were at that time in their, let's say, late 30s or mid 40s, somewhere like that. And these two women were very happily married. They both had husbands who were wealthy. So these women had beautiful cars, beautiful clothes, beautiful jewelry. They had everything they wanted, and they also had plenty of freedom. And they were keen on golfing, and they used to go off on golfing weekends, not to play golf, but to play with the golfers. So they were cheating. They both knew it, both enjoyed it. I'm laughing about it. I'm not approving of it. I don't approve of cheating on husbands and wives. I'm a monogamous kind of a person myself. And I know how hurtful it is when people find out that they've been lied and cheated to. But I smile with these two women because they would come to me on a regular basis, and I would say to them, if you keep going like this, because obviously the spirit world had told me all about them and all about their escapades, and I would say, if you're not careful, you'll get caught out. So, you know, you really need to stop. And I would try and do everything that I could to dissuade them from their way of living. And eventually, after a few years, they did stop. All right. But I remember one of these ladies, they would come together. They always came together. One of these ladies had had some sort of a burglary. And she was telling me this story, and she was telling me how she and her husband had found this incredibly amazing place to put their safe, and that, you know, no one would ever get their jewelry again, and blah, blah, blah. And she was explaining, you know, that the house is secure. And I was saying to her, you need to put in burglar alarms and so on and so forth. And she said she had, and she was so sure that she would never, then that they're safe was hidden in such a secure place that no one would ever find it. Well, when we were talking about their naughty escapades, to show them exactly how clearly the spirit world could see, to show them exactly how much that they were being watched and loved and cared about, this particular day when this woman was talking about her safe and how well it was hidden, I said to her, well, I'm going to show you a little exercise, and this little exercise is going to show you how much and how clearly the spirit world can see, and that there are never any secrets from them at all. And I proceeded to take her through the house, and we went through the garden and to the front door. We went into the driveway through the front door. Now remember, I'm sitting in my study at the time and taking her through this, and I'm describing the driveway and the house and the hallway and the stairs and the staircase, and up we went, and we went into a particular room, and then we had to move a little bit of furniture, and then we actually had to move a carpet, and as I'm describing this and journeying through this woman's house, her eyes were getting bigger and bigger and wider, because she knew as we were going along that there was not one nook or cranny in her house that I couldn't find or know about, simply because her loved ones in the spirit world were telling me. And sure enough, I took her right to the safe that she said nobody would ever find. There are no secrets in the spirit world. Your lying and your cheating will always be found out, will always be known, not necessarily judged harshly, but will always be known. Bit of a scary thought, that, don't you think? Let's have our next question, shall we?
This is from Elaine. She says, I know a child whose father died in prison when she was 5. Is it possible for the father to see grief in his daughter, or is he unaware?
It's a very sad story. To lose a parent anyway is very sad. To lose a parent in these circumstances. Do we have a name for this person?
No.
We don't. Okay, so all right. So would this child? She was 5 at the time. So would this child? How would she cope? Would this child's father know of her struggle through the years? I think it was 7 years ago, if I recall, that this happened. So now this girl would be 12, right? So she would be 12 years old. Does the father know? Does he see? Is he in a good place? If he was in prison, he was obviously in prison because he'd done something wrong. Could that have been a bad thing or a good thing? Sometimes people are put in prison and it's for a small matter. Sometimes people are put in prison for something larger. So again, I'm going to ask Gregel, who again has put his hand on my shoulder, reminding me that this is a question more for him than certainly it is for me. In this particular instance, from what Gregel tells me, I can tell you that the father is, thank you, the father is fully aware, and Gregel says, and sees this child, walks with this child. I can tell you that the father of this child is very remorseful for his, what Gregel describes as his stupidity. How does the child deal with this? How do you grow up knowing that your father died in prison? How do you deal with this? And the only advice that I can give to you and for you to give to the child, hopefully, is try not to focus so much on what happened in the past, but focus more on the fact that no matter what he did and no matter what happened, I can tell you from my spirit guide Gregel that he is now a loving and a caring father and is doing his very best to protect his daughter. And Gregel is telling me not only to protect her from the normal bumps in the road that all of us have, but actually to protect her from the meanness and the nastiness that some people have, and also to protect her from her own negativity and her own negative thoughts. So, you know, things are given to us, pain is given to us, trauma is given to us as often as a gift. And if this little girl can take this awful experience that she's had and use it as a gift, because having had this happen to her, she can take one of two roads. She can go down the road and say, poor me, why did it happen to me? Or she can go down the road of, this gives me insight and it gives me knowledge and it gives me understanding, and hopefully it can teach me compassion for those people who have gone through something similar to me. So she can go down a negative path or a positive path, and I'm going to encourage all of you who know this little thing to help her to go down that positive path. Pain, as much as we don't want it, is a gift. As much as we don't want the gift, you know, it's an unwanted gift in so many ways. It is a gift if you look at it as a gift. So try and encourage her, if you can, to take that gift. Her father is, I can tell you from what Greg is saying to me, her father is watching her and watching over her and loves her very, very much. He did a stupid thing. We all do stupid things. We don't all get caught. He did a stupid thing. And unfortunately, it has led to this. My blessings go to this little girl. I hope she takes the positive route. Do we have a next question?
We have one more. Melissa from Texas asks, do spirits know or do they see?
Is there a difference? Melissa from Texas. Goodness.
She had said something like, if something happened and the spirit wasn't with the family that it happened to, do they just know something is happening, or do they see it with their eyes?
I'm totally lost on the question. So let's try this again.
Okay.
This is why it's live, you see. It's always live and it's always interesting. Give me that again.
Do spirits know when something is happening?
To whom? To
a loved one.
Or to a loved one.
Or do they see it as in a TV?
Oh, gotcha. Oh, all right. This is an interesting one then. Okay, I can tell you that I had a few years ago, I had a family come to see me because this woman's aunt had been strangled, actually by her husband in a drunken stupor. So it didn't particularly mean to strangle her, and after strangling her he passed out, and it was only when he woke the next morning that he saw his wife's body lying on the floor and realized what he'd done. At the time of that happening, the woman being strangled, could those people in the spirit world who love her and care about her, could they see it? Did they know that this was happening? Maybe could they have done anything to prevent it? Again, the present and even the future is something that in an odd way has already happened for those in the spirit world. So they will know beforehand that something is going to happen. They can often warn us of things. Again, if we're not listening, then we're not going to get the warning. But sometimes they have to stand by and watch a thing happening. But there's always a reason for things to happen. There's always a reason why, you know, it's time for someone to pass into the spirit world, no matter how it's going to happen, no matter how you die, there's always a reason for it to be happening in that time. And the reason is that God decides, and we don't know why that is, but God decides. Do people in the spirit world know? Yes. Do they know if you're lying and cheating? Yes. Do they know if you're stealing? Yes. Um, do they know? Do they see it as if it's on a TV screen? No, they know because they're often standing by your side. They're not looking through a TV screen or a telescope. They're not looking from a far distance. They are looking because, and they are seeing and they know because they're standing by your side, even as you're doing the thing that you know you shouldn't be doing and they know you shouldn't be doing. They can tap you on the shoulder a trillion times, but if you are intent on doing that thing that you know you shouldn't be doing, you're not going to listen to them. You're not going to hear them. You're not going to take any notice of them. And sometimes people do things, bad things, because they're desperate. Not every bad thing that a person does is done because out of meanness or spite or cruelty. Often people get themselves into stupid situations and do stupid things and bad things out of desperation or because the temptation is too great or whatever it is. And that doesn't mean there shouldn't be consequences, because there should always be consequences. I believe, this is me now talking, not the spirit world, but me talking now. I believe that, for every bad deed, there should be a consequence, and the consequence should fit the deed. And one of the biggest issues I think that we're having, that we see today, is that the consequences do not fit the crime, let's say, no matter whether the crime is, some kid's stolen the other kid's car or plane, or, grabbed something they shouldn't grab, or, whether somebody's stealing from someone or whether somebody's murdering someone. The consequences do not necessarily fit the crime. And I'm a great believer in there have to be consequences, and we have to teach our children that there have to be consequences. And those consequences, if we say to our child, you're grounded for a week, it's a week. It's not 3 days. It's not 2 hours. It's not however much they whine and cry and push us. Oh, all right then, because it's too hard for us to stick to the week. If you're grounding a kid for a week, it should be for a week. This way, if people have consequences, there is less reason for secrets and lies. There's less reason why somebody should do something stupid or sometimes bad, and even sometimes worse than bad. So, goodness, I feel as if I've just given somebody a lecture there. It's like, sorry about that. But yes, those in the spirit world, they do know, they do see, and often they're standing right by our side, trying to say to us as we're doing that stupid thing, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, please don't do it. And then we do it. And then those in the spirit world are very sad for us often, hurt for us, and sometimes hurt by us as we continue in our earthly life, being as human as we all are. Next question.
Now it's time for the personal question.
Aha, the personal question. Oh, dear me. Well, this could be interesting. Secrets and lies, right? Uh-oh, secrets and lies. Yes.
Please give us one of the most interesting secrets that were revealed during a consultation.
Did you make any notes about that?
No.
You didn't? Oh, God. Well, there have been so many. There have been so many. But when we talk about cheating and lying, we're not necessarily talking about people cheating on their wives or husbands, but I am going to give you another story. Okay. And I did find this story personally interesting, because I had a client, and she came to me on a regular basis, once every 6 or 8 months or something. And she had a fabulous husband, a fabulous life, and 2 not so fabulous boyfriends. I know, cheating not only on the husband, but also on one of the boyfriends with another boyfriend. And I'll be honest, because this is no secret, the spirit world knows how I feel about this. And I used to look at this woman, who was not particularly attractive. She was actually in many ways quite ungainly, And I would I would look at her and wonder how this woman managed to get not only one man but three men. You know, uh, anyway, that was just my thought. Now, she would come to me, and whoever it was in the spirit world who would be talking to her, I think it was her father, if I remember correctly, would say to her, this has to stop, because you are, without a doubt, you will get caught. And if you don't stop within the next whatever time, you're going to get caught. And if you get caught, you will regret it for the rest of your life. As I say, her husband was fantastic. He would work away. He was a truck driver, a lorry driver, as we would say in England. And so he was back and forth, which gave this woman plenty of time to do all the cheating that she felt necessary to do. But every time I said to her she'd get caught, she'd shrug and laugh, and she'd say, oh, well, I'll deal with it when it comes along. Now, one time she came to me and I said to her, you've got less than 6 months, because if you don't stop this, if you don't stop it, I'm warning you now, you will get caught and you will regret it. And off she went on her merry way. And it came to Christmas time, and one of her boyfriends had sent her a Christmas card, and he'd sort of not signed it. He'd just wished her happy Christmas. And the husband found the Christmas card and put two and two together, and he made a very good number. And he began to do a little investigating all of his own without her realizing what was happening. He did his investigating, and then he presented on Christmas Day. He presented her with a Christmas card and said, right, I know all about this. Whoops. She cried. She said she was sorry, blah, blah, blah. She called me, of course, as soon as she could. Help me, help me, help me. And I said, well, there's nothing I can do. You know, your loved ones in the spirit world try to warn you. They try to tell you. Why didn't you listen? So a few more months went by, and she came to see me again, and she said her husband had forgiven her and so on and so forth. And I said to her, I don't think so. And, you know, she said, well, you said if you found out I'd regret it. And she was a bit blasé about it. And she said, but everything's fine and back to normal. And she was still continuing with her cheating. And then one morning, I actually had just come out of the shower. It was very early in the morning, and the phone rang. And I picked up the phone, and there was this sobbing female. How could he do this to me? How could he do this? He's gone off, he's left me, he packed his bag, etc., etc., etc. And the upshot of this story was that when this lovely husband had found out that his wife was cheating on him, it destroyed all trust. And because he traveled away quite a bit, he actually then eventually, and he was not having an affair with this woman before. He'd been faithful to his wife up to this point, but he found this lovely woman in Holland, and he got to know her, and they fell in love, and he packed his bags and he left his wife and her two boyfriends, and she never saw him again. Now, the interesting thing about this is, she came to see me. She was hysterical. She was hysterical on the phone. I've got to come and see you. So there she was, sitting in my little study, facing me, looking me right in the eye, sobbing and sobbing and sobbing, and saying to me how awful her husband was, and how could he possibly have done this to her, and how could he possibly have cheated and lied. I was speechless. I mean, what do you say to someone who has cheated and lied and been warned again and again and again by those in the spirit world? What do you say when the tables are turned? So, for all of you out there who are cheating and maybe telling one or two little fibs, be careful, because the tables can turn. For all of you who have done something awful or wicked, but you're remorseful and regretful, have hope. There is no harsh judgment in the spirit world. The only ones who judge us are harshly are often ourselves. Don't be afraid to be a good person. If you find yourself in trouble, tell the truth. It's the only way to get out of a thing, because the more lies and the more cheating we do, the more lies and the more cheating become more and more and more, until all of a sudden we're in this awful situation and we don't know what is truth and we don't know what is a lie. However, those in the spirit world are pretty much keeping score, and they know what is truth and they know what is a lie. So my darlings, be good. All right. Next week we are in Sarasota. I think, is it next week?
Nope.
No. All right. 2 weeks. In 2 weeks' time, we're in Sarasota. We are doing a workshop in the morning, and I will be connecting with those in the spirit world in the afternoon. We're really looking forward to that. Let's see. You can contact us on Facebook and Twitter, or you can email us, rosemary@rosemaryaltea.com. We love having your questions. Thank you to all of you. We're making a pile of these questions. So even if you send in questions and they've not been answered yet, try and remember, we will get to them sooner or later. We're always looking for new subjects to talk about and new conversations to be had. So if you have any ideas of new conversations, just please, just email us and let us know. We're amazed at how many people are starting to watch these little sessions, because we just did it as something, that we thought might be a good idea, but now we're getting so many people who are really loving them and enjoying them. So we shall be continuing with that. Later on today, I think, maybe, I'm going to be doing another cooking show. I'm going to be talking about my grandson's favorite cookies, which are chocolate covered shortbreads. So we're going to be doing a little video on that, so watch for that coming up. And please again, we're going to have this little competition, as we've said before. We're working on it. We'll let you know when. Only people who have subscribed to YouTube will be eligible to join in. Who knows what the prizes are going to be? I did say prizes there. Probably not a lot, but it's still a lot of fun. And for all of you who are now looking forward to fall and to, Halloween and then Thanksgiving, it's only just around the corner. We're working very hard on the cookbook. Oh boy, I'm hoping to have it ready for Christmas, but I can't guarantee it. But we're hoping and hoping and hoping for that too. So if you have any questions about any one of our subjects, feel free to email us. I will put your questions down, and sooner or later we'll answer them. If you have any ideas of any topics or subjects, please let us know, because we'll certainly be interested in hearing those. If you want to know any more, if you want to be part of anything that we are doing at any time, give us a call, please. Let us know. Thank you so much for joining us. Gregel and I say goodbye to you. Many blessings. We hope you have a very blessed day. Thank you. Bye-bye.